Hello everybody, and thank you for coming to listen here. Let me ask you something first of all. Does this sound familiar to you? 350 coaching suppliers and I'm still counting. Or we're spending hundreds and thousands of pounds on coaching in this organisation and nobody can tell me exactly what we're getting for it. I'm going to stop it all. Sound familiar, or at least the essence of those? Those are comments that people have made to us when we've gone to see them in organisations. I'm Kaaren Brook and I'm an L&D specialist. I've been in L&D now in corporate and now of course coaching on call for 30 years, and I know that from my experience that the really good and passionate bit that I feel anyway is the delivering of training, delivering of coaching, all these things. The things that I don't like are all the administration and everything else that takes place, but we know is necessary, not just to answer to our CEOs and our finance directors, but also to enable the efficiency of the things that we are passionate about. Coaching on Call developed, and we wanted to get coaching out to a lot of people. So what we developed is an on-demand coaching solution, which meant that we have over 70 coaches and hundreds of managers that we have to, and clients that we have to manage. So it meant that we had to develop a system in order to make sense of that and make it so that the administration was not too onerous. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. And how do you, with the complexity of coaching and mentoring in organisations now, you know, we've got internal coaches, managers as coaches, we have mentoring, we have coaching, we have executive coaching, we've got performance coaching, we've got telephone coaching, we've got face-to-face coaching, we have supervision, we have many more things. And we deliver it in different ways. So how on earth can we make sure that we know what's going on and that what we're paying for we're actually getting? So before I do, what are the issues and some of the challenges that you are finding in your organisations? What is it that's happening in your organisations? Return on investment, measuring it, or having data, yeah. What other challenges do you have from strategy through to that? Any?
Matching the right coach.
Matching the right coach with the right need. Exactly, yeah. Any more? Well, I'm sure when you think about it, there's quite a bit more because we haven't even talked about the invoicing bits and the when does a manager know when to recommend coaching or mentoring in the first place? What are the qualifications that are needed? All those kind of things. So what we need in an organisation is, first of all, the map. In other words, what and the how do we do the matching of the coaches? How do we make sure there's consistency and standardisation and efficiency throughout your organisations? We also then need a system and process in order to measure the effectiveness and efficiency of it and to make it slick, save time, and you have confidence when you're talking to your CNOs and finance directors about the return that you're getting for the coaching. And that means that you'll have all the ducks in the row and are free really to do the stuff that you're passionate about perhaps, rather than spending time on the paperwork. When I was thinking about talking here, I thought, well, I better go and see if my gut feel and the things that I'm hearing in the organisations that I speak to, I wanted to find out if that was true. So I went onto the CIPD website and I went on to Ashridge, and what they're all saying is that what organisations are absolutely adamant about is that coaching and mentoring is one of the more efficient ways and effective ways of delivering management skills, and they're seeing that management skills are in fact the biggest need in organisations, and that it's important, particularly going forward, that coaching and mentoring, organisational development and performance all are coherent in order to get to organisational change and all the strategies that they have set for the companies. Does that sound familiar? So let's just have a look at what efficiency is. This is what it means. And there's one organisation that we've worked with recently, and they wanted to start with coaching because they don't, have I gone? They hadn't got coaching. They did a lot of training, but they didn't have coaching in the organisation. So how they started off with a pilot, and it was having coaching following on from a leadership programme that they were doing. It was phenomenally successful. They got all the results that they wanted. They knew that coaching now was powerful, and it meant that the learning went into practice in the workplace rather than being left in the classroom. Familiar story again. So they decided to train up all their learning and development HR business partners so in coaching skills, so they could start to create a coaching culture. So they went on that, and they realised then just how powerful it was, and they started to understand what coaching and mentoring really was, and decided this was superb. Let's train all our leaders. So they then trained all their leaders. Fantastic. The leaders got really excited about it. So when any time anybody had a difficulty or a development need or was promoted, it's get them a coach, get them a coach, get them a coach. And over the whole of Europe this was going on, and it got totally out of hand. I mean, positive in one way. It's like a virus going through in coaching, and wouldn't we sometimes we'd think we'd really love that, but from an L&D perspective and keeping track of that, it became impossible. So they had to rein it back and think about, okay, so how can we make this consistent, standardised and efficient? So when we're talking about efficiency, we're talking about timeliness, about having the right coaching or mentoring in at the right time, and it really matters for the individuals when it's going to make a difference. It's about precision, being the right topic. It's about knowledge of knowing what's happening, when it's happening, to whom it's happening, and what is happening. What are the results? And that brings us to the evaluation of knowing what the value is that it's adding, not just to the individual, but also to the organisation. There was another organisation where they got a new CEO, and they hadn't come from an environment where they had a coaching culture, and it was unusual for this CEO. But the organisation that he'd come into, they'd say they had a coaching culture. You know, you speak to a manager and they'd say that's the way we do things around here. So he asked the L&D people, what do we get from this? What does it do in the organisation? Because we are spending quite a bit of money on it, as well as it being an internal process. And nobody could answer it because everybody felt good. Everybody knew intuitively that this was really working for the organisation, but there was nothing tangible that they could go and say, well, this is it, this is the return on investment. So they were tasked then to go, it certainly wasn't going to stop anything, it was just, well, can we start to put something in place so we can start to measure this, so we can really know the value of it. So the next one is effectiveness. So what do we mean by effectiveness? And it's that the intervention works and gets the results that we want. And again, if we say, well, what does that mean? It's about how do we connect the right coach with the right coachee, or the right mentor with the mentee. Elegance, I love that word, elegance. That's how that interaction between the coach and coachee, the flow of the conversation, the flow of the whole of the project that they're in, that it's elegant and coming to the solutions that are appropriate for the individual and that are doable. And that those actions that come and the solutions that are raised through the coaching process also benefit the organisation, fit in with the organisation strategy. So those are what we're defining here. Oops, sorry. So I was out for dinner this was sometime early last year. And the learning and development director that I was having dinner with said, you know, the next thing on my plate is to design a coaching framework. She said, and I've got to admit to you, I'm procrastinating. I know it's going to be a bit of a big job, this one. No, I have to do it, but oh God, I'm just getting my head around where to start on it. It just so happened we'd finished one for another organisation, so I said to her, look, let me just send you the contents page, so it gives you at least a start point. So I sent it over, emailed it that night to her. The next day, I get a phone call. The cliche terminology, OMG, oh my God. I had no idea. I knew this was going to be onerous, but actually the details that you've got in there is exactly spot on what we need. And there's no way I'm going to have the time now to do it because there's so much in there. So we worked with her and we got a framework together using all the things that were going on in their organisation that were good practice anyway, from why is coaching and mentoring important in the first place? So what's the business imperative? All the way through to what are the KPIs, how we're measuring, how are we going to, what qualifications do we want our external coaches to have, what qualifications do we want our internal coaches to have, how are we going to identify mentors, how are we going to get our managers to understand when coaching or mentoring is appropriate, all those things. So these are the major headings that were in the framework, and of course there's much, much more underneath all that. So what we're saying is, what we need first of all, in order to ensure consistency and that everybody has the same understanding of what coaching is, what mentoring is, what it's to achieve and how to go about it, you need to have some kind of a framework in place that anybody can access easily. Then there's the administering. We're back to that again, the administration of it. What are the administrative burdens that you find for your coaching and mentoring? Any of you got?
Tracking of the coaching reports.
Tracking of the coaching reports. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember I had at one point in my career, I had over 100 graduates that I was responsible for. And they all had a training program and they all had coaching, well, a mentor rather than coaching at that time. They all had mentors. And trying to keep track of where each of these were, first of all, how do I get them in touch with a mentor in the first place? Who's going to be the right mentor for each of them? And then keeping track of that was almost an impossible task. It took me hours to find out, and a lot of phone calls and this kind of thing to say, have you seen so-and-so? Have you seen so-and-so? So there's a lot of things that go on. You know, you get invoices, you get purchase orders. Do you know it's actually happened in your organisation? When we were designing, as I said earlier, Coaching on Call and the whole system, as I said, we have 70-odd coaches, we have hundreds of managers that we have to put together. We also have each client who give us certain budgets that we have to work within. We have to communicate all the value that we are offering our clients through this. We have to make, when we get all the invoicing from the coaches, and we have to make sure that that invoicing matches what's actually happened. We have to report to the clients about what are the type of topics that have been called about, so that they have some measure of in what department is this particular topic, what's the most common topic in it, so they have real-time information. And again, to show the value. So there's many things you can imagine that we have to cope with administratively. Well, there's no way we were going to be able to do that without having some kind of system and process in place. So that's why we designed this, and this is our IT director who's at the back of the room at the moment. He came up with this, a bespoke system to do it all. And it hasn't let us down yet. I mean, it's been in operation for 6 years. And what we're doing now is offering this out so that anybody can use it. Because I think the things that we have to do reflects what you need to do in organisations. So we're talking about scheduling the bookings, and scheduling the bookings, matching the coach and coachee. It says when it's happening, the length of project, the length of session. It talks about, is it in geographical area, what time zone is it? Anything that is to do with scheduling, it maps, and at a glance you can see what's going on at any time in your organisation. Budget management, no coachee you can put a budget against a coachee or against a department, and nobody can book it unless they have budget for it. Courageous follow-on, there's always activities are sent to them and can be sent to the line manager. So they can start to have the discussion outside then of the coaching situation if you want to. Remember, we also, of course, are bearing in mind confidentialities here. Quality control is vital, and certainly from Coaching on Call's point of view, it's vital that we have that, because we live or die on the quality of the coaching interactions that go on. So there's a way of mapping that as well in real time. We've talked about invoicing. So much data for return on investment that we can match up with the KPIs that you have in your organisation. So you really can have a good, meaningful conversation about this with your finance directors, CEOs, HR directors. Customisation and integration is going to be important to any organisation, because it needs to look and feel right for your organisation, and it needs to be compatible with any things that you have in place. So if you have a learning management system, for instance, at the moment, it needs to go side by side with that, or what other platforms that you may have. And of course, secure and reliable. Okay, so in essence, we're saying what we have here is we have a way of getting consistency and efficiency, and we have a way of managing that whole process for you. Just to give you a look at, sorry, bit speedy there. So this is what the system looks like. So you have your booking system where the one on the coach's side and one on the coachee side. Page where then the coach puts the feedback, so that's the quality control piece. This is where the coach will put their comments and the list of actions that have happened as a result of the coaching, which you can put a monetary value on, by the way. This is part of your return of investment. And then this is the administration page, or one of them, which gives you all the business analysis that can be sliced, as I said, any which way that you want. So that's what it looks like. So, effectiveness and efficiency, your framework, plus your process and system to make it really efficient and to prove effectiveness, means that you will feel in control of everything that's going on. Anybody, any questions?
Other systems, so you've got your calendar in there. If you use that system, out.
Absolutely. Good, very good question. The question was, will it link to Outlook, so the calendar and everything, does it link to Outlook? Yes, it does. So you can link it to Outlook, and also it will automatically send confirmations. So it sends emails, SMSs as well, to both the coach and the coachee. And for internal coach, certainly people say with internal coaching particularly, the manager who's a coach gets really busy in a meeting, forgets all about the fact, or books a meeting, forgets all about the fact they're supposed to be coaching somebody. This way they get automated reminder. Yeah.
Hear about a no-show? So if somebody didn't show up, would you get to find out about that? So a manager doesn't show up for
Okay, yeah, so if a manager doesn't show up, the coach goes in and puts a no-show. Yeah, yeah. So the whole system can be managed by either the coach or the coachee. Some things not, you know, the coachee can't go in and say, oh, yes, I did, if the coach has put that. But yeah, so that can be put in there. Any other questions? So can you imagine what that takes off you as far as administration goes? Because it's just all automated. You know what's going on in the whole of your organisation at one look, one glance. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so there can be a way of sending, yeah, the coach's profile is the question there. Can people see coach's profile? Your framework will be the thing that covers that. In fact, the company I was talking about where we did the framework, they had part of the intranet, which it was all this is part of, had all the coaching profiles on there. So what the coach did, once it was identified that coaching or mentoring was the thing, they'd go in, have a look at the profiles, pick the 2 or 3 they wanted to speak to, so they were the ones that were able to manage it themselves, then go to L&D or their manager and say, these are the people I want to speak with. Yeah. Any more? For any more? Okay. So you've now got a way of unravelling that complexity in your organisation. Please, we've got a demo over on stand 311. If there's any questions, please come and ask me. Come and see us on 311 for anything to do with coaching or certainly the management system. And we'd be really happy to chat to you. Thank you very much.